Umayanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshornilitanyena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Vanshakapa Turubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaurati Se Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. So our humble pranams to all of our dear friends who are gathered here. And so we're on this wonderful journey of Srimad Bhagavad-Gita, connecting with the current of revealed truth, revealed truth. And we have this opportunity to step outside of our own heads, our own minds, and try to align ourselves with this higher divine thought wave, conscious current of divinity. So it's always a wonderful moment for me, and so grateful for all of your company in this. So we are beginning chapter 7, and we finished off with reading the commentary, verse 4. And I don't remember exactly where we left off in the discussion last week, but this verse number 4, in the commentary brings up some interesting points. So this verse number 4 is describing the nature of the Maya Shakti, right? And actually, I was discussing this just yesterday with one sincere seeker. So we understand that the Lord has 3 principal energies, right? Everything in existence is a part of the Lord. And in that sense, everything is one, right? This is a major debate in different schools of religious thought, that we are all one, we are God, we are one with God, we are one with one another, or we are all separate entities. This is a major ongoing debate, right? So the school of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and other Vaishnava schools also, but with not as much detail as Lord Chaitanya's presentation, is that everything, that there is truth on both sides. There is a oneness and there's also a distinction. So Achintya-bheda-abheda, inconceivably one and different. And so from one perspective, yes, there is a oneness. Everything is one, but there is also a distinction. And so then we enter into this refined understanding that there is the Lord and his energies are also a part of him, but they're also distinct from him. So we are one of his energies. Everything in existence is one of his energies. And those are principally in 3 categories. And then there are so many subdivisions, right? So as it's explained in this purport, and I also appreciate the beginning of this verse, the beginning of this commentary, that, like we're talking at a higher level here. When Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying, when we say knowledge here, we mean knowledge of the absolutes. We're eliminating so many planes of temporary knowledge. There's truth, and then there's truth, right? There's truth in the plane of relativity, temporality, and there's truth within the absolutes, within the eternal plane. So Bhaktivinoda's just cutting to the chase here. Like when we're talking about knowledge, we mean knowledge pertaining to the absolute, eternal knowledge, absolute knowledge, knowledge of the Lord. And so then these 3 principal energies of the Lord are described, right? His spiritual energy, Chit Shakti, his material energy, Maya Shakti. Oh, am I still here? Okay. I was told I got signed out, but never mind.
Nope, you're here, Didi.
Okay, good to know I'm here. This is what friends are for. So there's the spiritual energy, material energy, and then there's what's referred to as the marginal energy, Tatasta Shakti, and that is us. You know, why is it described as marginal? Because we're right on the margin between the material side and the spiritual side, and we have the propensity to come under the influence of both. We are actually also a spiritual energy, but we are finite. We are not infinite. And this is a distinction that is made in the Vedas, and like Chaitanam, right? Amongst all conscious beings, he is the supreme consciousness. So there's the spirit and supreme spirit, consciousness and supreme consciousness, right? So we are on that spiritual side, right? But we are of a finite nature. And so therefore we have the propensity to come under the influence of the material energy, even though we are qualitatively speaking superior to that spiritual energy. It is a curious predicament that we find ourselves in. That we are superior to the mundane energy, but at present we are allowing ourselves to be controlled by the mundane energy. Okay. I'm just trying to remember this, what it was. Maybe Jayadev knows of this. That there's one talk of Srila Sridhar Maharaj I heard where someone was asking him about this. They came across some painting in India, which was depicting Durga, Parvati, the consort, or Durga, the consort of Shiva, like standing on the chest of Shiva. And so Srila Sridhar Maharaj explained the meaning behind this was that, because Shiva has a very high position. He's the master of Maya, right? He's the master of Durga. Durga is the mistress of this. She's the warden of this mundane world, and Shiva is her master, right? And so Srila Sridhar Maharaj explains that this image was representing that, actually the Jiva should have a position like Shiva, the master of Maya. But now we have allowed ourselves to become subdued by Maya, to be under the control of Maya. But actually we should have a very dignified position as the master of Maya. So that image was representing that, We are in this sad condition, right? Being dictated to by the modes of material energy, mind, body, senses, and all these things, the mode of passion, goodness, and ignorance. But we should be transcendent to all these things. If only we can realize the power within our own self, the nobility, the dignity of our own selves. And we are above all these things. So this is our curious situation. So these are the three principal energies of the Lord. And the purport's also describing these different aspects of the Lord's nature, or different manifestations of his existence, playing different roles. Brahman as this great formless light, consciousness, energy, that we may aspire to merge into, and that is also our source. We are conscious particles emanating from that plane of non-differentiated, formless consciousness. So that is one manifestation of the absolute. This is what is so beautiful about the Vedas. They're so comprehensive and accommodating that there doesn't need to be any debate. Like everything has its place. There doesn't need to be an argument as to whether God has form or doesn't have form. He has both. So in his formless manifestation, he is known as Brahman. this all-encompassing, vast energy. And then as Bhagavan, he's appearing with personality, with form, so that we can relate with him, have a loving relationship with him. And so then this verse in particular, this verse number 4, is describing the divisions, the different aspects of the material energy, right? So as I said, there are these 3 principal divisions of the energies of the Lord, and then there are subdivisions. So then these are the subdivisions of the Maya Shakti, of the material energy. And this verse number 4, it is a helpful verse. If someone does want to make a list of helpful verses to remember, I would include this one, because it just gives some clarity. It helps us kind of just navigate and know our way around and understand what is what. So there are 8 different expressions of the material energy described. 5 gross and 3 subtle. And this is very important, because it's easy to mistake. It's easy to confuse what is spiritual with what is actually a subtle material energy, right? So for example, people get excited about, just because it's subtle does not mean that it's necessarily spiritual. In terms of what we would describe as spiritual, according to our dictionary of what's spiritual, these things may not match up. So for example, people get excited about fairies or astral travel or all these things, or aliens, these are all beings, all entities that may exist on a more subtle plane, but we consider that they're still within the jurisdiction of the mundane energy, just a more subtle expression of that. The Vedas describe 14 different planetary systems, right? And the 7 upper and 7 lower, and they move between gross and more. They move in a gradation from more subtle to more gross. So the lower you go, the more gross and more physical the planes become. And the higher you go, the more subtle they will become. But it's all within the mundane plane. So this plane that we are in is described as being the lowest of the upper 7, and known as the plane of Bohr. And it is described as a plane of physical experience, of gross physical experience. But if you go to higher planes, then this physical plane of gross physical matter doesn't exist. If you go to higher planes, everything's happening on a subtle sphere, more in the mental plane. Just like, if we have a dream at night or we watch television, right? You're perceiving things in a more subtle way. Just because you cannot touch it and feel it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. So all these things are going on and existing with a more subtle expression, but it's still mundane. That's the point I'm trying to make. So we don't want to confuse these things, and sometimes we may have experiences, or see things or feel things that we get excited about, but we have to remember, we can't be sure whether these things are happening like actually on a spiritual divine level, if these things are actually descending from a plane beyond this mundane plane, or if it's just a subtle expression of the material energy. So it's a tricky thing. It's a tricky thing and something to consider. And this is one of the things that I appreciate so much about the Vedic presentation. It's so scientific, it's so detailed, and everything can be placed. Like there's nothing that I'll hear from someone about this far out thing or that far out thing, where I'm going to be like, surprised, or, oh, this is something new, but it's like, oh yeah, I can understand this within the context of what the Vedas have told us. Maybe I haven't heard exactly the details of this or that idea, but, understanding the basic symptoms of it, then I can place it somewhere within what the Vedas have told us. So it's this, you won't find this level of detail anywhere else. Okay. Does anyone want to add anything? And welcome to our friends who have been joining. Nice to see Brooke again. So, does anyone want to add anything or ask anything, or should we continue with chanting the verses?
Dee, maybe you can share what verse we're on for our friends who just joined us.
Okay, yes. So we are in chapter 7, and we are on verse number 5. Okay, then we can continue. Narottam is with us too. Very nice to see you, Prabhu. Yes, I would agree with you. Good association, devotee association is everything. Okay, then we can chant together from verse number 5. Aparayamitastvanyam prakritim vidimepanam jiva bhuta mahabaho yayedam dayate jagat itadyo nini bhutani sarvanityupadaraya aham kritsnasya jagata prabhava pralayastata mata parataram nanyat kinchidasti dhananjaya Mayi sarvamidam prutam sutre mani kanaiva rasoham apsu konteya prabhasmi shashi surya yoho pranava sarva vedeshu shabdake purusham nishu. Chintamani, do you want to read those translations? So from,
Yes, I do.
great. So from 5 till 8.
All right. Oh, mighty, this is starting with 5. Okay. Oh, mighty hero, Arjuna, this worldly nature known as external is inferior. But distinct from this nature, you should know my marginal potency, comprised of the individual souls, to be superior. This world is accepted by this superior conscious potency as an object of exploitation for sense enjoyment by the agency of each individual's fruit hunting actions and reactions. The divine world emanates from my internal potency, and the mundane world from my external potency. The potency of the living beings is known as marginal on account of their medial adaptability. They may choose to reside either in the mundane plane or the divine. 6. Know it that all species, either moving or stationary, are produced from these two elemental natures, as the sphere of action and the knower of that sphere. And I alone am the cause of generation of the whole world, and the cause of its dissolution as well. Oh, Arjuna.
Chapter 7.
Up to 7.
No. It's just Brooke was asking what chapter. I was just letting her know. Sorry.
Okay, no worries.
I should have just typed it.
No, speaking is great because then it lets me know that my internet is working at the moment. I go, oh good, it's not me. It's not my internet crapping out. All right. Know that in all species, either moving or stationary, are produced from these two elemental natures as the sphere of action and the knower of that sphere. And I alone am the cause of generation of the whole world and the cause of its dissolution as well. 7. O Arjuna, there is nothing superior to me. Like gems strung on a thread, this entire creation depends on me. 8. O son of Kunti, by the potency of the primordial element of taste, I am situated as the basis of the flavor of water, and by the opulence of effulgence, I am present in the sun and moon. I am present in the Vedas as their primeval sound vibration. The letter Om, I am present in the atmosphere as the primordial element of sound. And as the supreme male, I am present in all men.
Okay, thank you so much, Shantani. Does anyone want to pick anything out? Was Scarlett raising her hand?
Yes, it doesn't say exactly the same in mine. Can I ask why they have changed it?
Oh, it's a different translation. Yeah, I meant to mention that, if that, in case it threw anyone off. It's an adjusted translation. That Chintamani is reading from an older edition, and we're reading from a new one. The translation was revised to be a little more concise, but essentially it's the same.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
But yeah, thanks for pointing that out.
Now, I have a question as a book change researcher. Were the book changes authorized by His Divine Grace?
They were requested by Srila Gurudev. Yeah, actually Gurudev, he described the language in that older edition as bombastic.
I'm not sure what bombastic means. I'm gonna copy and paste a dictionary definition in the chat.
I think it, because our Gurudev grew up in British India. So some of the words that he'll use, they're like kind of more British. So I think that bombastic might be more of a British word. Narottam Prabhu, did you want to say something? You just turned on your screen.
That it mentions taste of water, and that reminded me of how the tongue is the most voracious sense that can to be controlled, especially for devotees. And but once the tongue is controlled, then we can control the rest of our senses in service of Krishna much more easily. So I don't know if you, but that stuck out to me. I don't know if you want to expand on that point, but that's just what stuck out to me. That's all.
Well, yes, very nice point, and actually we're beginning this section where Krishna he's giving many examples, right, of how he is the source of everything. Actually, no, here there's only a few. It's in chapter 10 where he elaborates on this more, and he gives many examples. I am the silence of secrets, I am the strength of the strong, and all of these things, which is quite wonderful to read. Yes, I mean, I see that these things are very helpful reminders, right? They're going to make some imprint on our mental system. Now, when we go and drink a cup of water, we're going to be remembering that. Krishna is because what is the point? Like, Krishna is rasa, right? So every taste that we experience, he is the origin of that. Every sensation that we seek, that we enjoy, he is the source of that, and they're complete within him. Nothing is outside of him. He is the source of everything. And and you've also brought in this point about the tongue, that yes, it is mentioned in the scriptures that these different bodily urges, right, are described, and it said that the tongue is the most difficult of all the urges. Yet, if we can control that, then we can control them all. And I recall Swami Maharaj Prabhupada, he points out, like the urge of the tongue, urge of the belly, urge of the genitals, they're all in a line, And if you can control the tongue, then the rest will follow. That is something that Swami Maharaj mentions. I also wanted to point out here, thanks for bringing out those points, Narottam. And I also wanted to pick out here this verse number 5 is speaking kind of on what I was speaking of before, that that we are constitutionally of a superior nature to the material energy. And right now, we've taken on material bodies in order to enjoy the material world, but actually we are of a distinct nature and superior to this material energy, and we don't need this material energy. We're identifying with it now, we've become entangled with it, but that's not out of constitutional necessity. We are actually internally equipped for a much higher, superior, more subtle, spiritual, divine experience. And also another thing I wanted to point out here was in verse number 6. Hang on now. What is this? Because the translation uses these terms, the field of action and the knower of the field. But I don't actually see that in the Sanskrit. It does come up later. Okay, yeah, so that's kind of been drawn out, but it's not literally the Sanskrit. That comes in chapter 13. I'm gonna have to have a look at this translation here. But anyway, it's being referred to here, and it is discussed later in chapter 13. And it's a very way to frame our experience. So kshetra means like a place or field of action. Then kshetragya means the knower of that field. So there's this clear distinction made between the true self and all these material experiences that we're going through at present, you know. And the more that our consciousness evolves and the more we identify with the spiritual plane, the more we will feel detached from this whole field of experience. You know, we will feel more and more aloof and distinct from that plane. You know, there's all, it's just beautiful. You know, this terminology is so nice. You know, and there's also earlier in Bhagavad-Gita, there are these terms deho and dehi. Deho means the body, and dehi means the embodied, the person inside of the body. You know, so these things really help to frame, you know, our experiences and everything that we're navigating in the environment. Anyone else have any comments, anything to bring out from what we read?
My question is, are these constituted as Krishna himself or as energies? That is the taste of sound, he's in the ether, you know, etc. Is this Krishna himself, or are these representations of Krishna's energy? I just want to know this distinction.
Well, I suppose you could say that there's it's a reflection, right? That all the experience that we have in this world is the beauty that we may perceive, the you know, the experience, you know, these things are all reflections, you know, and they're giving some indication. He is the source, but I wouldn't say that these things are directly him. I would say indirectly. And they are a type of reflection of that original experience. You know. There's also at the end of that chapter where Krishna goes into more of these examples. There's that concluding verse, Yad Yad Vibhuti Mat Sattvam Shrimad Urjitam Evava Tattade Bhava Gachatam Mamate Jams Sambhavam. That, you know, everything in it, actually he concludes by saying, you know what, Arjuna, like, what's the use of giving you like so many specifics? Just understand anything that's wonderful in existence, I'm the source of that. You know? Anything that's wonderful, anything that's astonishing, anything that's beautiful, I am the source of that. That's all being maintained just by one partial expansion of mind. So yeah, because things can go a little funny. Like if we start to think everything is directly Krishna, then we can start to live in a little bit of an imaginary world. It's a careful idea to navigate. It really depends on what plane of consciousness we're on. For one, at the highest level of consciousness, everything will authentically remind them of Krishna. They will authentically see Krishna everywhere. But in our case, I would lean more towards, we're experiencing, in the beautiful taste, we're getting some reflection, or some shadow of what's in the original. Just like in relationships, right? Like Krishna, what is Krishna's specialty? Akila Rasamrita Murti. Like every taste, every sensation, every relationship is available with him, right? That of a lover, of a friend, of a parent. And we all get some experience of the joy of these types of relationships, right? So we can understand we're getting some idea in this plane, but that's not the original thing. That would be my answer. I'm not going to say it's a perfect or final answer. Those are my thoughts right now.
Vishaka, who is this rude person blabbing in the background at the Seva ashram that is not attending Bhagavad Gita class? Show their face.
Sorry, I'll close the door here.
No, they should come to Gita class. I'm happy to talk to them. I guess I'm being codependent by wanting to influence, adjust.
No, it's good. Because actually I'm never quite sure how much you're hearing and how much you're not. You're picking up there, so it's good you tell me. I wanted to invite Dana, because Dana mentioned in the chat that one of her favorite verses came up. And I'd love to hear about that, Dana. Which verse were you talking about, and what is it that you appreciate so much?
So the whole mention of like the taste of water and the sound of Om and all of that, it just really makes me become more present in like my day to day. I'm not really good at that, so I guess it's just the 7 chapter 7 verse 8 is just, I don't know. It's been probably about a year ago. I did like a shloka memorization group, and that one just always stuck with me so much, and it just made me look at my day to day and things and just break them down into these just simple things. And there was actually I was reading with yesterday, it was the Bhagavatam, I think it was Canto 1, chapter 11, verse maybe 26. And it was again like bringing up the whole like intricate details of just even the sounds of the birds. And I don't know, I can't quote that one, but it just broke it down really beautifully as to how much Krishna is in these, you could see in just these things that you see every day, and that sometimes I could speak for myself, that I just blow right by them, or I just, I just take this water and I just drink it. But it's like, it makes it so much more just sweet to just really think of this verse, and then really, for me, just try to apply it in for real, like in everyday things. And it's just like my dog, like she helps me so much to stay in the present. Like she's just so happy, like, here's a smell, I'm gonna go over here and smell it. Oh, look at that, there's a butterfly flying by, I'm gonna like it's the same kind of thing. It's just trying to really stay like really present. I'm rambling, but I really love this verse because it helps me so much, because my mind is definitely a monkey mind. It's all over the place. And so I need everything I can get in my toolbox to try and keep my mind in order. If that all makes sense.
That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing, Jaina. Thank you for sharing. Yes, and just to comment on that, and also relating back to what Narottam was bringing up, and also going full circle to what we were describing at the beginning. Achintya-bheda-abheda, right? This is Lord Chaitanya's conception that everything is simultaneously one with and distinct from Krishna. So if we are remembering that, then we can experience Krishna in every moment. We can live in that awareness that he is present directly or indirectly, in everything, in every moment, in every experience, and in every situation. He is appearing directly or indirectly. So yes, Krishna here, he's giving helpful ways by which we can remember that and become more conscious of that in practical ways. Okay. Should we continue then a few more verses? And welcome to Dr. Ripito also just joined us. And we have a Bailey, I think, joining for the first time. Hello. And Govinda's also with us. Okay, then, we'll continue then. We still have some more time. So we are continuing with this theme in verse number 9, and we can chant this together. I'm going to chant Sanskrit 9 to 14. Punyo ganda pritivyam cha tejas chasmi vibhavaso jivanam sarva bhuteshu tapas chasmi tapasvishu bijamam sarva bhutanam vidiparta sanatanam buddhir buddhi matamasmi tejas tejasvi namaham balam balavatam chaham kamaraga vivarjitam dharma virudo vibhuteshu kamosmi bharatarshaba ye chaiva satvika bhava rajasastamasaschaye matta eveti tanvidi natvaham deshu demai tribir gunamayir bhaver hebi sarvamidam jagat mohitam nabijanati mamebhya paramavyayam daivi hiesha gunamayi mama maya durataya mameva ye prapadyante mayametam tarantite. Okay, well, should we invite Marie to read those translations from 9 to 14?
9 to 14. I am the pure fragrance of the earth. I am the radiance of fire. I am the lifespan of all beings, and in ascetics, I am the power to endure duality such as cold and heat. O Partha, know me as the eternal original cause of all life forms. I am the intelligence of the intelligent, the power of the powerful. O Arjuna, I am the strength of the strong, without selfishness and attachment, and I am the desire for procreation in the living beings, which does not contravene the universal principles of religion. Furthermore, know that all things of the nature of goodness, passion, and ignorance are manifest from me alone. Nevertheless, I am not in them. They, subordinate to me, are in me. Was it to 12 or to 14?
14.
The entire world of living beings is deluded by the three modes of material nature. Therefore, no one can know me, the Supreme Lord, who am transcendental to these modes and immutable. My alluring, trimodal, illusory potency is practically insurmountable. However, those who take shelter in me can overcome this powerful obstacle.
Another interesting angle that comes out from these verses is that, it's humbling, right? To consider, this Balam balavatam chaham. Krishna is saying, I am bal is strength. He's saying, I am the strength of the strong. I am the power of the powerful. It's a humbling consideration. Could also say the beauty of the beautiful. All these things that we may have some pride in, they're all, all his property actually. And we can also lose them very quickly. When I was flying over to the US last month, I watched this one documentary on the flight about, it was focusing on this big mountain biker. He was like a world champion mountain biker. I don't remember his name, maybe some of you know him. And it was also looking at other athletes and people who'd been quite, well situated in the world, who'd suddenly had like unexpected accident and they'd become disabled in very horrible ways. So this guy, he was like this world-class mountain biker, could do all these incredible like flips in the air over mountain ranges, and he had this like one little accident and injured his spine and couldn't walk. They even showed this one scene with him. He had to urinate and he had to wake up in the middle of the night, like sitting in the bathroom for like 3 or 4 hours in the middle of the night, trying to urinate using a tube, like this type of suffering. This is a guy who was on top of the world, just a few days before, So all these things we have to remember, all these things, the ability to, to breathe, to blink, to move our limbs. These are all, these are not within our control, they're all coming from a higher source. So it's also humbling to live in that consciousness. Everything that we have is a gift. And we don't want to take it for granted. What to speak of having any arrogance, but and then this verse number 14 is quite well known, and it's, if someone does want to memorize, I would definitely include this on the list. It's often quoted by our gurus, and this phrase here. Oh, we're being live streamed. Okay. You did it.
I'm not the doer. Krishna did it.
So this interesting phrase is here. Krishna is saying Mama Maya, right? It means my Maya. Everything's ultimately everything is personal and everything is about relationships. The more we can understand personalism, the more we can progress in Krishna consciousness. So this like bewildering material energy that can drive us crazy and frustrate us, she's also a person and she also has a boss. So what do? Go to her boss. And that's Krishna. So Krishna saying, my Maya, she's not an independent agent. She's working for me. And this whole deal of her, giving you all trouble, that's for quality control. That's to test you and purify you and make sure you're really ready to go to a higher plane. It all has its place. That's a filter system. So he's saying here, this Duratyaya, this means very impossible, very difficult. It's very difficult to deal with her, very difficult to overcome her. But if you if you surrender to me, then very easily you can become free from the influence. I just have to give one nod to her and she'll let you free. She'll let you out of her clutches. It's not a problem. She'll let you out of the prison house with one nod from Krishna. So this is the approach. We do our duty we move forward in the most positive and progressive way, everything else will follow. We don't need to worry about fighting with anything or anyone. We just do our truth, right? Loving servants, loving, dedicating agents for the cause of absolute beauty, truth, love, and everything will follow behind that as a side effect. We don't have to worry about it. We don't have to try and renounce anything or struggle with anything or give up anything or fight anything. Just, we want to love Krishna. We want to serve Krishna. We want to offer to Krishna, to the saints, and everything will follow behind that. This is the most beautiful, most wonderful thing. Does anyone else want to add any thoughts to this discussion or anything that comes out of these verses that we just went through? This verse number 12, and this Krishna mentions a few times, and it can be harmonized by the Achintya-bheda-abheda, simultaneously one and different. So Krishna is saying, everything is manifest for me, but I am not in them. So it is and it isn't. I'm there and I'm not there. And this also comes up in a later chapter, Matstani Sarvabhutani, Nacha Matstani Bhutani, Pashyam Me Yogam Aishanam. Everything is within me. At the same time, everything is not within me. Behold my supreme opulence and glory, Krishna says. So this is Achintya-bheda. Inconceivably, these two things exist side by side. So don't try to comprehend this with your puny, limited intellects. Just approach me for a loving relationship. Just surrender to me. We're not going to be able to sit down and, have an intellectual discussion as equals, but let's relate on the plane of love. Just like if a 5-year-old child, sometimes you see kids, right? Or especially when they're like at that cusp, like, just before adulthood, and they want to be considered adults, but they're not really quite there. It's like, hey, like, I'm a grown-up now, like, talk to me like a grown-up. Like, well, you're not actually a grown-up yet, So it's like, don't try and do the grown-up talk thing. Like, just approach me for love. I'm ready. I have ample supply of love. I'm very enthusiastic to have a loving exchange with you. But we're not going to be able to 18, maybe 18. It's like they think they're grown up, but they're not. 18, 19. I traveled once with a 19-year-old. That was not easy. Because they think they know everything. Sorry, no offense to 19-year-olds. Now I'm about to travel with a few 19-year-olds. Doesn't apply to all, but sometimes they're just at that cusp. Like they think they know enough to think they know, but they don't actually know. So like that, we may think, well, I should be able to empirically understand this. Why doesn't God explain to me? Why doesn't God appear in my microscope? Or why doesn't he appear in my mathematical formulas? So Krishna is saying, don't even try. Just approach me for a loving relationship. There's plenty of room for you there. There's plenty of room for you in my heart. So just go in that line. You'll be successful there. Right. Any other thoughts from anyone? Jayadev's been very quiet. Narottam saying, I don't think we typically realize how much there is growth in Krishna consciousness. Yeah, that's part of the thing. Like, it's kind of like at 5 years old, you don't even know the scope of how much there is for you to know or not know. You don't even know the scope of what there is for you to not know. You know, like this one devotee here, Damodar Prabhu, he was, okay, Brooke, thanks for joining. Have a beautiful day. You know, one devotee here, Damodar, he cooks very nicely, and he used to work as a nurse, and he was saying to me this morning, you know, I'm fortunate, I'm blessed with good health. And then he said, but on the other hand, you know, I did work as a nurse, so like I know what it means to not have good health. You know, like we may have our little ailments, right? And we think, oh, I have this health problem and that health problem. But if you've like worked in a hospital and you see people who really have health problems, then you have a different perspective, you know, on what it means to, you know, to not be healthy or to have health problems. You know, like it's just, you know, but when we're living in our isolated worlds with little experience, we don't even have the scope, you know, to know what it means to know something or not know something, right? We don't have a reference point. So yes, there is infinite. We just have to remember that at every point, that there's infinite above us. You know, there's this line in Srimad Bhagavatam, this famous verse, Gyane prayasham udapashya namanta eva, means throw away whatever knowledge you have right now. Like don't hold on to your prejudices, you know, be ready for infinite growth. Whatever you think you know, whatever's in your black box of experience, throw that all away. Be ready to receive something completely different, you know, at every step. So yes, if we keep that, our Gurudev, he used to make that point too, that if we always move in this awareness, this consciousness that like, I'm not there yet, then we're going to be okay. You know, haven't reached the destination yet. Then we have an openness for further growth. And we are open to receiving the download of the infinite. Okay, well, I guess I'll stop there for today. Oh, we're missing Ganga Leela. She normally gives a really nice synopsis and closes our meetings very beautifully. But we do have our wonderful Chintamani Devi Dasi with us. Do you want to close our meeting today?
Yes, thank you so much, Vishaka Didi, for a wonderful Bhagavad Gita class. We meet every Thursday at 10 o'clock Pacific time. If you'd like to join us, I included the WhatsApp link in the chat. If you want to get notifications or join our Bhakti Friends group where you can have discussion and share posting nectar. And then we have our other group, which is just for notifications. So let's settle in and take a deep breath and let all this wonderful, juicy chapter 7, Krishna's everywhere at the taste of water. There's some all-time favorites, Bhagavad Gita verses that are part of this chapter. The taste of water. What other ones? I don't even remember. I got all nervous because I'm on live stream and being recorded. The sound of Om. Did Krishna say that? I can cheat in the book.
Does anyone else remember some of the others?
Yeah.
I
That's
remember
the mention of the Tatasta Shakti.
Dandavat Jayadev. What did
Oh,
he
no, no.
say?
There was some mention of the 3 Shaktis, or yeah, Tatasta. And then I was thinking really quick of reflection, so I'll give you some. I love that word Tatasta, which means like we're on the shore. You know, we're at the shore. We could dive into the ocean or go onto land. Anyways, it did mention those 3. What else did we do?
I remember.
Oh, all good
the
things come from me too. Anything that's good, just trust that it came from me. That was part of what we talked about today.
You know, one of the things which we didn't discuss, but I really like, is that imagery that Krishna uses, gems strung on a thread. Where Krishna says, I'm like that thread. I'm the support of everything in existence. That's a very beautiful image to carry carry with us. Anyone else? Scarlett, any thoughts you want to share?
I'm just wondering because I'm a mother of 6 children, adults, and for me, I can't just look around me and think about how I have, and I'm thankful. I am thankful that I have found Krishna and everything. That I'm very grateful for. But still, it doesn't make me to think only around me. I think more, and that is the people that I know in Iran, that they are fighting, they feel bad, they screaming and asking what is all this and so on. What does that mean? How do they get to know Krishna? They can't know anything about Krishna, so that they do the things Krishna says, just leave everything, just believe me, and so on. They don't have, and they don't even have opportunity to know that yet, and they suffer a lot. So for me, I am grateful that I know about it. I am grateful that I'm learning about it, but it doesn't take the fact from me that many of the people, it's not that I'm sitting here and lamenting and crying for them, but I just wonder, them, how about them? Why don't they get to know how come it's so difficult that they don't know? I can't even send a book there. I want to send Bhagavad Gita there, but I can't even do that because it's dangerous. Because they can get killed or get, the least they can be prison. So I mean, you know what I mean? So I can't really thinking, yes, I have it, and I'm trying to talk about it with my children. So my children, I have difficulty to just think that way. I'm thinking that way. You know what I mean? It's crazy, but I can't help it.
It's not crazy. We appreciate hearing your compassionate heart. Marie has her hand raised.
As somebody else from an Abrahamic tradition, I can say this is common when you're trying to expand to a conception where you go from a single human life to the possibility of many, 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 many lives. It takes a long time for all of the effects of that difference to sink in. And like for me, it's taking years. And that's when I already had a situation where, as I'd been growing up, I'd had people around me of strong faith where I was able to say, look, this doesn't make sense. Because I was telling them the same thing you're telling them. It doesn't make sense. I can't reach everybody. And I can't believe that the God I know would let people just not ever find out. And what I was told, because we didn't have a theology of reincarnation, was just, we don't know, but I personally agree with you. I don't think God ever gives up on us. And once you put the possibility of multiple lives in there, and you've developed that relationship, you come to know divinity in a form where you realize God doesn't give up on us. Krishna will get them eventually. He will look. Some will be ready, some won't be ready yet, and they'll just keep trying until they are. And I am starting to find some comfort in that. But the pain that you're feeling for them, I think is normal, and it's natural, and it's reasonable. And that is a sign that you are already in some ways reflecting God's love to those around you. So even if you can't reach the people far away, just know that you are reaching people in some small way that you may not be aware of and they may not be aware of. And try to sit and let that be enough for now.
That's very beautiful, Marie. And thanks both to Scarlett and Marie for bringing up this topic. We can perhaps pick it up again on Tuesday in our question and answer session, because it is a big topic. Yeah, let's continue with that. Continue that discussion then. Okay. Well, anything else you wanted to close with, Chintamani? And
It is really nice. Oh, sorry, go ahead. Welcome.
no, I was just gonna say hello to Madhu Gopal, who just joined us from Tijuana. Nice to see you, Prabhu.
Dandavad Hari Bol. He see the next week here in Tijuana.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing you. Chintamani is also coming.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Go
the
ahead.
the next Saturday, because the next Saturday is Harinam in Tijuana.
We'll be there. We'll be there. Chintamani, you were gonna say one last thing there.
Yeah, we've started this sort of tradition of ending our Gita classes with the Maha Mantra. Ganga Leela started us off with that. And I really like to keep that going, because it's so nice to hear the Maha Mantra in all the different parts of the world, just all in one spot in gratitude. Yeah, I can hear, you just hear like the waterfall. Our sacred sound engineer had
I usually just
question.
hear one person. No, I didn't have a question. I usually hear one of the people chanting the Maha Mantra, and then maybe another one will come in.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare
Hare
Hare.
Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram.
Hare. Nitya go to Hari Bol. Nitya go to Hari Bol.
Jai Shri Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. Karanga Gandharvika Giridhari ki Jai. All the assembled devotees, sincere seekers ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavad-Gita ki Jai. Shri Hari Nam Sankirtan ki Jai. Jai Gaur Premanand Hari Bol.
Shri Yukta Vishaka Didi ki Jai. See you all next week. Dandavat. Love you guys. Hare Krishna.